Hey there. This will be a simple video, but I think it's useful nonetheless. If you work in tech in any capacity, or even just learning IT or cybersecurity, being able to quickly check if a network port is open should be a fundamental skill. In many scenarios, it should be one of your first troubleshooting steps too. Personally, I've had situations where someone I was working with didn't know about these, and it sure would help speed things up. So that's why I decided to share it with you. So what tools are we using? On Windows, we just need Powershell, and on Linux, I'll show Netcat and Telnet. I'm using these since, of course, Powershell will be on Windows by default, and Netcat and Telnet will very commonly be installed on various Linux distros by default. And I should note that what I'm showing is only guaranteed to work against TCP ports, not UDP. That's just because of the nature of how these protocols differ from each other. Of course, you can still check UDP, but I won't get into that though. I'm only checking TCP here. This is good enough for many use cases anyway, since a good portion of common services use TCP and not UDP. Alright, let's get right into it. So I have a Raspberry Pi on my network, and it's running a simple web server on port TCP 443. I can see it in Firefox here. But to check the ports, I'll open a PowerShell window. And first I'll run get help test net connection. This just shows some of what we can do with this PowerShell command. I'd always recommend checking out tools before you run random commands from random YouTube videos anyway, but I'll clear this out. Then I'll run test net connection dash computer name, then the IP address or DNS name of the remote device, and then dash port and the port number. After a second, we should see TCP test succeeded equals true, and that means the port's open. I'll go ahead and clear this out, and then I'll change this to a port that I know is closed, so 21, which is for FTP, and then run it again. And then on this one, we see TCP test succeeded equals false, so the port's closed. A nice thing about this command is that if it detects that a port's closed, it'll also run a ping check for you, so you can verify that the host is alive even if the port's down. That's really it for this PowerShell command, so now let's switch to Linux. I'm just running Linux Mint, but your distro doesn't matter. Feel free to use something easy like Arch if you want. But I'll open a terminal window again, and then I'll make sure Netcat is installed by running which-nc, and here it is for me. I'll switch it up a little bit here, and I'll check the SSH port on my Raspberry Pi, but to do this I'll run nc-v, which means verbose output, and then the IP address and the port number. And then I hit enter. And then instantly, I see succeeded, meaning the port is alive. The nice thing about Netcat is that you can also see service information on the remote host. So this is the version of SSH that my Raspberry Pi is running. I'll go ahead and quit this, and I'll clear the screen. And then same thing as before, I'll change this to port 21 since I know that is closed. And then I'll hit enter. And then after a second, I should see failed connection refused, which verifies that the port is down. And lastly, let's see how to use Telnet. So I'll clear this out. Same thing as before, which Telnet. And there it is for me, so I know it's installed. And then to check the port, just type telnet, and then the IP address and port. And then the port is up, so I should see connected to that IP address. And similar to Netcat, I can see service information here from my Raspberry Pi. I'll go ahead and stop this, and clear the screen one more time. And then to check a port that I know is closed, I will just go back and then change it to 21 once again. And then I see connection refused, and that verifies that the port was down. Alright, that's about it for this video. Like I said, I wanted this to be pretty simple. Obviously, these methods are not fully fledged replacements for network enumeration tools like Nmap or MassScan, but they're great for ad hoc troubleshooting. Like say you're in your home lab or some network and you have some Linux server that isn't responding when you try to SSH in, you could just use PowerShell's testnet connection and quickly narrow down the root cause. Either way, hopefully you learned something.